And I can watch the waiting room throughout
That would
your
be great.
um,
I'm going to. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Sheena, nice to have you.
Am I alone? Am I the only other person?
You're not alone. Don't worry. We've got Abby joining,
Oh,
Jeff, Paul Dudley. Welcome,
I like
everyone.
Abby. Thank you.
Yeah, we love Abby. She's awesome. Uh, Dennis Peterson, nice to see you. It was great meeting you in person last week.
Same here, Jordan.
Let's see,
Jordan, I think you met Janet Camarca, my data manager.
I
last
did. Yeah,
week.
she gave a
Yeah.
great presentation on Illinois LiDAR.
She's all happy. She got good feedback, so that's great.
Yeah,
Everybody was very nice.
it was really good. It seemed like she was a little worried that it was a little too technical, but I don't know. I
It's
appreciated
technical.
that. It's nice to know what kind of process you have to go through.
Yep.
And, and
No, I talked to her
Natalie,
yesterday and she was really pleased.
right on. Good. Yeah, I liked it. It was. I wish she had a little more time because it would have been nice to get a little bit deeper. But I liked her. She had a Big Lebowski slide in there. What do you need that for, dude? Is that what she had?
I think I had a talk that had like a Tarantino film reference in it. And my PhD advisor just loved it. He was the bad guy. He thought he was awesome.
Nice. That's awesome. All right. It's still pretty close to the top of the hour, so we'll give some folks some time to come in. I wouldn't be surprised if the folks who are on at the mid-year meeting skipped today, but I'm happy to relay some of the things that we talked about and really the key takeaways to help give a little more direction to the things that we're working on for y'all. All right. Looks like we have Joanne. Welcome. And here's Janet. And Brian, how you doing, sir?
Good, Jordan. How are you?
I'm great. So, I was just talking to Lindsay, and it's quite the recovery process after these conferences, but it was
I'm
really a blast, a great experience.
glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing you in San Antonio in the fall.
Yeah, we definitely missed you guys. But San Antonio, I hear that's the big show is the annual. All right. So we'll start off with some welcome and the agenda. And give folks a little bit of time to come in here. Let me pull out my deck. All right. Aaron, welcome. It's nice to meet you last week.
You too.
Thank you for joining today. All right, so let's get started here. So you are in the 3DEP for the Nation State Team Monthly Meeting. Thanks everyone for joining. As we let folks in, we'll go ahead and take a peep at the agenda. We'll hear from Brian Hadley from USGS. Got an update, a lot of activity going on with the federal budget in place, so that's exciting to see. We'll give some project updates from NSGIC's 3DEP for the Nation side of things. I always want to make some space for state 3DEP news and activities. I didn't have any submissions today, but definitely want to give you an opportunity to share anything you all are working on in your states that we might be able to get excited about. I'm going to share some mid-year meeting takeaways. We had a great breakout session, got some really good feedback and direction for some of the things that we're working on. So looking forward to sharing that here. And then we'll dive into some meat and potatoes on a revised project plan that I'm working on to really make sure that we're providing you guys with things that'll be valuable as we move into next generation 3DEP. And I've got some reminders to wrap up. So without further ado, Brian, you want to give us an update from your side of things?
Sure. Yeah, I'm gonna be pretty brief because there's not a whole lot that's changed from the last time that we met. The only things that I would note on the map that are not currently on there is we have a large cooperative DCA project in the state of Washington that Abby is our partner on, and we are thrilled to partner with her on that. And the Long Island is also going to be a cooperative project for FY24. That's also not on the map. Both of those projects have been communicated back to the partner that we've accepted them, and they're going through the process of putting the grants in place. And we have a slightly different process for FY24 than we've used in previous years for cooperative or financial assistance projects. And so Abby and Jeff Langella are going to be our guinea pigs for that and trying out the new process. And so we're excited about those. Both repeat partners on the BAA/DCA, so very much appreciate them. And so the stats as of right now are 17 proposals on the year for the DCA, 12 projects accepted across 10 states. And I'll note that we did receive our budget about the second week of March. It is now working its way through the Department of Interior. It'll eventually make its way down to my program, at which time I'll know exactly how much funding we have left for the year. I anticipate being able to still do some partnerships though. So if folks have an interest, there's something that they would like to do, please don't hesitate. And if you'd like to talk about it one-on-one, please feel free to reach out anytime. I am always happy to discuss it, and we can share thoughts and ideas. And I try to be as transparent about those things as I can. Federal partnership projects, specifically this map, doesn't necessarily make an identification between DCAs and non-DCA projects. But in the last month, between last meeting and now, we have officially awarded the Missouri Southeast project. You'll see that as solid medium green color now, or light green color. It's almost like a fluorescent green, the medium green being the contributed. Thank you, Jordan. And then hot off the presses, the New York, New Hampshire project was awarded. And so, yep, that one, Jordan, that one is going to be starting acquisition as soon as conditions are appropriate in that area. And the contractor is on the ground assessing things now. And so we'll wait for the snow to melt. I think they anticipate some more snow in that region of the country here in the next week or so. So it may be a little while yet before that one actually gets going. The California project is close, so that's going to be a big one, and not a whole lot else to update as far as acquisition goes. The rest of the map is as current as we have. Last month, we did 2 national tribal notification letter webinars, and so at the beginning of March, we sent a national notification to close to 900 different federally recognized tribes. That includes Native Alaskan corporations, Native Hawaiian corporations. And so what does that actually mean? It means that USGS's policy for how we deal with tribal notification is going to change a little bit. Up until this point, we have provided notification on a project by project basis to any federally recognized tribes. It gives them an opportunity to provide input, express concerns, request that data be redacted, request for informational meetings, all those kinds of things. The national notification letter provides a 60-day notification period for tribes to respond and ask for any of those same kinds of informational things, meetings, questions for about the data itself. What are we going to use it for? If they want to request redactions, they have the right to do that, and we will respect that. But we will not be giving additional notification after May 1st, when this notification period ends. We will not be giving notification to tribes before acquisition. It'll be happening before publication of data. And so that should mean that as we move forward, we can probably get projects going a little quicker than we have in the past. We also anticipate releasing the DCA a little earlier this year than we have in prior years. We're targeting the beginning of August. And so this is in response to concerns and not so much concerns, but more requests for more and more data sets having a leaf-off acquisition the winter immediately after the release of the DCA. So in past years, that's not always been easy for us to achieve. We're hoping with a couple of these changes that'll allow us to get DCAs contracted and acquisition to start a little earlier than it has in the past. And so, Jordan, with that, happy to take any questions, but that's most current update on USGS data acquisition for 3DIP.
Great, thank you, Brian. Anyone have any questions for Brian? Let me check the chat.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
How you doing?
Oh, go ahead.
No, Jeff, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. The questions for Brian regarding the project in the Adirondacks of New York. The first I'm hearing of it, is that a QL1 or a QL2 project?
Yeah, Jeff, it's a QL2, and what it was I don't recall if there was a project there originally that for whatever reason didn't meet 3-depth specifications, or if it was a legitimate hole. But this year we're trying to start taking care of cases where we have holes in the baseline or contributed data sets that aren't potentially going to meet. And so what that one was it's not normal for us to combine two states like that. And so we had a couple of those small little holes in New Hampshire, and then we had that hole in Western New York. And so I just paid for that one myself. It's a QL2 acquisition. As I said, acquisition will hopefully begin as soon as conditions on the ground are appropriate. And Jeff, if you want any more information about it, you want a copy of the data or anything like that, let me know. I'll make sure that happens.
Yeah, I could actually. So that original project was from 2015. That was at the very beginnings of 3DEP when we got involved. So very early, that first year, or that was, I think, technically the second year, on our contract, we had everything tied to 3DEP specs with the exception of hydroflattening. So I remember working with Doug Freehafer, and I think that got into the national map where the project that was flown in 2022 for Columbia Rensselaer was not. So from 2016 on, everything's been on 3DEP spec, including hydroflattening. So yeah, so it is going to be a new collect that will replace that. Okay.
So I would say that, it's in some of these cases where we have these older data sets, I don't know that I would say we're going to close the door on those things. What the hope would be is at some point in time, maybe we need to go back and if you're right on the money, Jeff, and I have no reason to think you wouldn't be, maybe we just need to go back and hydroflatten that older data set. And then you're going to have, we're going to have multi-temporal data for that location, which, as we start thinking about next gen, that's really the goal. But yeah, I don't want to hold up
10 years, so it's fine.
Well, I don't want to hold up the baseline. That's really the thing, is we're hoping to get this. We're at 94.7% of the nation, and we're hoping to get it done in the next couple of years. And then I don't want to hold it up on data sets that we haven't been able to get across the finish line.
And to my knowledge, that's the last project in New York that would be like that.
Cool.
Other than what's currently going on now, I know, like the Hudson Hoosick, or it's part of Fort Drum that we still don't have, but that's in progress right now. I think it's called Lake Ontario River Region. So other than that, I think the whole state will be covered by minimum QL2 USGS 3 depth.
That's
with
awesome.
hydroflattening.
Well, we certainly
Um,
appreciate you and everything you've done to help make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't mind, I do have a question for the group. If you don't mind,
No.
we're currently on the last year of our RFP, so we have to put out a new RFP for next year. New York City DEP approached us about collecting LiDAR data in the watershed that feeds New York City next year. To turn that around, a new RFP around in time, is highly unlikely to be able to collect that data. So we're asking our state if we could just extend our current contract by 1 year. And what we think they're going to ask us is if we have quotes from other states for what they're currently paying for QL2 Live. I'm doing some Google research right now, looking for, what other states are paying. So if anybody on the call doesn't mind emailing me what they're paying for QL2, that will be highly appreciated. We have a meeting on Friday with finance.
Awesome. Right on, Jeff.
Hey,
Thank you for.
this is Shayna. I work in Illinois, and we have the Chicago area, and we have counties acquiring themselves. And what we found really helpful was USGS used to publish a cost per square mile target ratio, and that was pretty close to what we would do with standalone contracts. But the Chicago areas, they do higher point densities than we were ever doing. So it's hard to put a price on it.
Right.
But it was really, really helpful to have that federal baseline price. So
I did find
putting in a
one from
pitch to bring it back.
2015, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It's old.
no,
Yeah.
yeah.
Jeff, if
Hi,
you want
this
to
is Taryn from West Virginia. I have a quick comment on that. Our LiDAR data was flown through FEMA after a huge flooding event in 2016. So there was a huge initiative to get LiDAR for the state. I could look at what our costs were. The most recent flight was in 2022. So that'll give you a little bit better baseline for that, if I could send that along to you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It'll at least give you a start.
Yeah, and I found some states that were really, really high, and the other 3 states that I found were pretty similar. I mean, we're right around. We all know it's based on square mileage, but from what I found, we're paying around the same that I found on the other states.
And you can also reach out to some of the gypsy contractors just to get an idea of what their current rates are too. So
yeah, no, I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
the
Thank
problem
you.
is they will always say it depends on your terrain.
Yeah.
So Midwest states are different than East Coast
Yeah.
states, and yeah.
And it may not even get that far. They might be like, yeah, you're good, because this is a multi-million-dollar potential for New York, where New York City New York City DEP is paying for this ortho imagery and LiDAR. It's just using our contract. So we're hoping that's good enough to be like, yeah, let's do this. Let's extend it for a year, but who knows?
Jeff, did you say they're gonna use a higher than QL1 point density? Are they gonna use a?
This is QL2. What I would probably push for is if we could put it in as a partnership with 3DEP next year, maybe we pay the upgrade to QL1 or something like that. They're looking for QL2, but I'll put my email in the comments. If they're paying for most of it, there might be a reason to upgrade to QL1. Or Brian, I think we were talking about, it was a little late about Long Island and title coordination. but if unfortunately this area is not that old. It's part of the FEMA 2019 collect.
Okay.
So we're not even sure if it would qualify for 3DEP because some of the data is so new.
If you're talking about applying next year based on the current way that we have things set up, you'd be okay. We'd be talking about FY25, so you'd be 5+ years removed. You'd be eligible. I'm a little we don't have to beat it to death right now. It's not the but Jeff, I'd have a little concern about how effective QL2 would work with all of the buildings and all the infrastructure there. It seems like that's not probably. I'll tell you what. Give me send me an email and I have some info for you that we have something that's maybe a little similar out west, and I'll give you some suggestions on cost.
And it's the perfect topic, Brian, because this is the other reason why we're asking to delay a year, is because we're really waiting on how to write our next RFP based on next gen 3DEP. You know,
Understand? Okay.
So the base product in our previous RFP was QL2 with a buy up to QL1. The buy up was astronomical. It was like double. Prices we know have gone down, but we're really waiting on next gen specs.
Okay.
To write that. So I'll follow up with you.
Sounds good.
How about that?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff, for excellent question and great discussion. I think it's really important, to share and be on the same page as far as costs. So I think Abby proposed in the chat to send her your email. She will share some information with you. Also, I highly encourage anyone to participate in the My NSGIC community, the state team community there, where you can share and collaborate on this kind of information. That way, anyone who's not on the call today can also benefit from that info. We have a couple other folks who put some questions in the chat, and then Nate, I see your hand is raised, so we'll get to you. But Sheena, you had a question about Will County, Illinois, and whether or not a decision has been made there.
Yeah, I know that our local NRCS office, NRCS Illinois, has been communicating with their federal partners at NRCS and USDA, and they're proposing an 18 county project, which is shown here on the map, which may or may not be a 19 county project because Will County flew themselves in 2021 and USGS has looked at it and they're debating whether to refly Will County versus accept the 2021 data that the county flew. So I'm just wondering if any final decision has been made. NRCS Illinois is still thinking that you're going to fly in the spring, but I don't think that's possible given the leaf out in the Midwest. So I'm assuming that's going to be a winter 2024-25 project. So I just wanted to know if any decision has been made.
I'm leaning towards collecting Will. We're looking at the task order right now, and that's the current plan. As for the acquisition season,
There's no way it's going to happen this spring. So I appreciate how learning how you're leaning, just because they seem a little confused, and I know they're having direct contact. So we have no state funds, but we're still in the conversation peripherally. So thanks for
seeing what the task orders, draft task order says for timing. I've personally had no direct conversation with Will County. Dave Nail has, I think, but in terms of me having conversations with them, I haven't spoken to them. This is another one of the cases where I'm just
Totally.
concerned about not being hung up on getting the baseline completed with data sets that have questions about whether or not they're going to work. I don't see, let me read this when I'll look at what I assume that we are going to say that the acquisition window would be spring to fall. But I think you're right. At this point, it's going to be very unlikely we're going to squeeze that in. It's probably at least another, realistically, another 4 weeks before this would be awarded. So
Right.
you'd
Yeah,
be
spring is
May.
like 3 weeks ahead of schedule
Yeah, it's
in
been a
Illinois.
wild year, absolutely bizarre.
And
Yeah,
my
I think your
concern is
assumptions are
not so
correct.
much Will as that Cook and McHenry flew themselves in 2022. So if you're going to not accept Will 2021, the rest of the Chicago area is going to be very, very old. If you're not going to accept the county contributed data. So,
So
I'm getting questions. I'm doing my best.
no, I understand. So NRCS Illinois has way more money than they need to support
Yeah.
what they want to do this year.
Which is great. Yeah.
It's good, but it means that that they'll roll over money to next year. So what they might have planned, I don't know. I haven't really talked to Drew Lane about FY25 plans. We're so far behind on FY24 that seems like a lifetime away at the moment. But the two counties that you said, Cook and McHenry, we are looking at those right now and trying to make decisions on what we might do with those. I think again, in the context of the 3DEP program's baseline, I'm
Yep.
not as focused on those, Sheena, because they're not, if those new data sets work or don't work, they don't represent a current hole in the baseline. And so I would like to see them count. I think that would be ideal, but it's not at the top of my radar screen at the moment because I'm trying to figure out some other problems where I have legitimate holes.
Right. And I
So
understand that. It's just that right now the state has none money other than we have some staffing. So the counties that are in Chicago have their own funds. The feds have their own funds, and I'm just trying to advocate the best I can. So all I can do is ask these questions, and I appreciate hearing your response. So
no, it's what we're here for. I would say, I don't currently have any plans for the 3DEP program to collect anything else in Illinois this year. And I don't know if that in and of itself is helpful, but that's where we're at. What might happen next year? I can't say. I mean, if those Chicago counties, specifically have older data and Lake and I can't think of all of them, but if they, they're ripe for recollection, I certainly could see them being things that would be prioritized next year. I do know this. NRCS Illinois has told Drew Lane, who's the NRCS coordinator for it, essentially my counterpart at NRCS, they don't have interest in those counties. So I think
they can't because their funding is agriculturally related and they can't make a justification for that. So right now there's no plan, good or bad, there's no plan for the Chicago area counties other than what they do themselves, which is not acceptable to 3DEP. And I have none funding right now to sway either side. So all I can do is advocate and say those data are older and NRCS can't fund it. And all I can do is bring attention to it, which I've just done. So that's all.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Sheena. Great. And Nate, before I get to you, I know Natalie had a question in the chat, but it looks like it was removed. I just want to make sure, Natalie, you have an opportunity if you still wanted to ask your question.
I'm all good. I heard it in the discussion.
I was
Okay.
just, that's funny. I had started typing something for you, Natalie, and then I was like, where did it go from the chat? Your,
Yeah.
your question, yeah, the answer is what you asked. It would be FY25.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thanks.
You bet.
Great. All right. Thank you, Natalie. And Nate, how's it going? What's
Yeah,
up?
pretty well. This is an echo back to the conversation between Jeff and Brian regarding New York City. Brian, you might know better than I, but shouldn't the city and county of San Francisco's data be getting fairly close to ready? And it might be an interesting case study for New York.
Nate, I'm sitting here smiling and nodding my head. You and I are thinking the exact same thing. That was a higher point density collect. I want to say it was 30 points or 40 points per square meter. Do you recall?
Yeah, it's somewhere in that range, and was also a QL0, so it's a 5 centimeter vertical
Yeah.
standard.
And I think that was the challenge of that one was we needed specific ground control from the state of or from the city of San Francisco or maybe the county there. Do you remember that was not easy to necessarily secure? And so for Jeff, if he wants to go to something like that, that is a consideration. With the relaxing of the QL2 standards on vertical accuracy, maybe it's not something we need to worry about so much, but that was a problem for California.
Yeah, well, and California's kind of in motion a lot of the time where those things
yes, very true.
really do matter. But yeah, that's all consistent. I wasn't directly involved in that one, so I don't know the inner details on it, but that's all consistent with what I've heard.
It is getting close to be, I want to say they've submitted, we might be through one round of reviews now, so it's moving along.
If you don't mind, let me just clarify a little bit. It's not actual New York City; it's the watershed that feeds New York City.
Okay.
So
okay.
it's like 75 miles north of New York. So it's not. It's pretty rural. It's I probably considered the Catskills.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so it's not actual. I mean, there's buildings there, but it's not like the New York City type
Okay,
of building.
I got you.
Yeah.
We're not talking about downtown Manhattan.
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, New York City kind of went rogue and did their own thing, and there is data, QL1 data from 2021 there, but there's no metadata for it whatsoever. So,
Okay.
we have it. I think we do distribute it, but yeah, I think EagleView did it, but there's like no metadata for the whole project.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Jordan, did you expect that? That turned into some really good questions, some discussion there. So I'm sorry if I took up more of your agenda than you planned for, but
no, I love it. That's what we're here for. So I mean, I always have this thing in the back of my head. How do I, make sure that this is aligned? But I mean, we're here for the benefit of the participants, and I think everyone benefited from that discussion, hopefully. So thank you everyone for participating. Does anyone else have any other questions for Brian? I mean, we're on a roll here. All right, cool. Well, thank you, Brian.
Jordan, I'll just conclude with, I think Sheena's comments about the pricing and having something out there that folks could use. Let me talk with my team about that. The pricing, as you all know, has come down dramatically. Even in the couple years that I've been in this role, particularly the QL1 data, substantially cheaper than what it was even 2 years ago. And so let me talk with my folks about that. There's probably some sensitivities about that. Maybe we can just give some like ballpark figures, but
that would be really appreciated, because there was none other nationwide ballpark, and states can trade, what they paid for specific contracts, but it's a specific thing in a specific area. Even if it's not the right thing, it was a number to average out on, and it was really, really helpful.
Okay. let me see what I
Yeah,
can do
even
about that.
even if it was, 200 to 300 based on many factors, just a range, I think
Yeah,
would be helpful.
what I would think that maybe we could do is, and this topic comes up a lot in the context of data validation. Um, what I always tell them is I understand validating data in high terrain with complex vegetation, some of the stuff that Abby deals with out her way versus, the middle of the Nevada desert are two different things. Maybe we could give, sort of like 2 or 3 ranges for QL1 and QL2, complex terrain, normal terrain, easy terrain, or those kinds of things, and then just give a range in those numbers because, yeah, let me look at my stuff. I'll talk with my team and see what I can come up with. I think that's something that's probably doable.
Thank you, Brian.
Right on. Thanks, Brian. And I do encourage everyone. I know Brian will do his best to bring those things together, but definitely, I mean, the power of NSGIC is to help states connect with each other. So if you feel comfortable sharing in the My NSGIC community, the 3DEP state team community, definitely post things there so other folks can benefit and get those RFPs in order. All right. If nobody else has any questions for Brian, we will move along. But that was awesome. Thank you, everyone. So on the NSGIC side, I got a few things going on. Still working on getting that planning guide shored up and built out, and we're working on getting a umbrella 3D NTM planning guide in coordination with the 3D HP project with Linda Wayne and Phil over there. Our big focus is on this funding, messaging, content, and materials. How do we sell 3DEP refresh to folks who don't necessarily understand the value that this foundational data set has to derivative products and problem solving? So a lot of work going on there, and that's what we'll cover a little bit later in this meeting. And then on our horizon, right, or I guess in our field of view, is gaining clarity around nearshore and inland bathymetry. So Brian and I have a meeting tomorrow. I'd love to start making moves there because I know there are a lot of questions swirling around that critical data set. So that's what we're working on. Does anyone have any questions there or something that you'd like to see on this slide that is not here that's important to you? All right, cool. Well, if at any point in time there is something you're like, man, I really wish we had some help or support from NSGIC on this, feel free to reach out and let me know because I definitely want to make sure we're focusing efforts on things that are valuable for you. Now, we had a great round just then with Brian, but does anyone have any news or activities you want to share that other folks might be interested in? Steve, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I was taking the first part of the call from my cell phone, so I'm just kind of joining the group, being able to see the screen. And I did have some thoughts on Jeff's question about pricing. And what we experienced is that it depends on the size of the area. So the vendors, if they can enjoy economies of scale and are flying larger areas, that drives down the price per square mile. Mm-hmm. So something to consider depending on the size of the watershed you're hoping to fly. You might it's going to impact the cost per square mile from what I understand.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's how our current RFP that we're looking to extend is, and it's really just having similar states, numbers or. So yeah, that's how our current contract is written. I think it's like 0 to 500 miles is X amount of dollars. 501 to 1500 is a lower number, and so on. So obviously, the more you fly, the cheaper the average square mile cost is. So no, thank you.
Very good. Yep.
Yep.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Steve. Abby, would love to hear what you got going on in Washington.
Sure, thanks. I wanted to just acknowledge and thank Brian again. We are moving forward on a large DCA project, so I'm pretty excited about that. This will be the first time we're doing a cooperative agreement, so trying to get geared up for that and pretty excited. We also got a little itty bit of funding from our legislation this year to expand collection a little bit. I also wanted to mention we've been doing some bathymetry projects, and this will be the first time that we will be combining sonar and LiDAR bathymetry together. So I'm not sure how it will pan out yet. They might be flying, or they might be collecting the sonar in just a few weeks. But that's the first time we'll ever try to do a complete bathy before. So it's pretty exciting to see that come together too.
That is awesome. I would love to follow up with you on those things, Abby, and gain some insight on your successes there. I know a lot of people are super interested in how to sway state legislatures as well as setting up inland and nearshore bathymetry projects. Also super interesting to combine sonar and LiDAR. That sounds like a challenge, but very cool.
Yeah, I guess just in general, how it works is they fly the LiDAR first and they process it enough to see where the voids are, where the deep pools are, and then they backfill with the sonar and then integrate them into a seamless surface. But you have, metadata showing where the sonar was versus where the LiDAR is, and some accuracy based on both. So it will be really interesting to see that again. Like, this is the first time we're doing it. We have 2 projects that are like that. And this, came out of our users asking, not us. So interesting to see that need arise as well.
Very cool. Very cool. And Jeff and Steve, I see your hands are still up. Did you have anything more to add?
No, sorry. Let me lower it. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
I did. We had a gentleman discuss Lake Champlain bathymetry, and it sounds like the point density depends on the depth of the waters, and then the resolution of the surface model is dependent upon point density. So that the deeper the waters, that's going to impact the resolution, and it's going to be difficult. From what I understand, you can't have multi-resolutions in one surface model. So I'm not sure how the merge would take place, but it was just something that came up during that conversation.
Very interesting. Thanks, Steve. Abby, Brian, any thoughts on that?
No, just that's an interesting aspect. Yeah, we're doing rivers, so I don't think we're going to have a multi-resolution issue. We haven't done a lake yet, though. But I do see where that comment is really relevant in a lake scenario.
Yeah, nothing I can add, Jordan. It's starting to get out of my area of expertise. I'm going to be learning as we start transitioning more bathy stuff into 3-dep in the future.
Same here. Same here. Cool. Well, right on. Thank you, everyone. Anyone else have anything that you're working on that you'd like to share? Any wins, questions, anything at all? Paul, what's up, man?
Hey there. Just a quick question. So first off, thanks for your work on the LiDAR program funding pitch, the collaboration document. It's going to be really helpful for me and has been helpful so far in kind of outlining that one pager that we discussed previously. And then just a quick question on the community, just making sure I'm in the right one. I did see a 3-dep FTN community, but it didn't say anything about state team, and it looked like there were some partners, like business partners and things in there. Is that the correct community, or do you have a specific link for the community?
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. There are 2 3-dep communities. So one of them is the interest group, and that's open to partners, business partners, state reps, federal, anyone who's interested in 3-dep is welcome to join that community. And then I just dropped in the chat a link to the specific state team community. This is more restricted to folks who would be on this call, state representatives responsible for LiDAR programs, or even, really anyone and everyone in a state who is interested in the 3DEP for the nation.
Thanks much. It
Sure.
requires proper authentication for viewing. So maybe Dennis has access, but I do not. So maybe something we can follow up on.
That sounds likely. Yeah, go ahead and if you can shoot me an email on that, I can work with Emily to get you guys the access that you need, or make sure that that we're going through the channels that we need to make that happen.
Fantastic. Many thanks.
Cool. Thank you. All right. Right on. Thank you, everyone. Definitely want to make enough space, but it sounds like we're dwindling out here. So I'm going to move on unless anyone else has any questions or things they want to bring up. Great. So mid-year meeting takeaways. Had a great time at the mid-year meeting. It was my first. We missed the folks who were not able to attend, but it was really cool to meet a few folks in person. Scotty, Janet, Dennis. I hope I'm not forgetting anyone else. Taryn, of course. And yeah, it was great. I really loved learning from all of you, and just hearing the perspectives and getting that, like, in between states and business partners. Just really cool to be there. But I wanted to share some of the takeaways. I think we had a specific 3DEP 3D HP breakout breakfast where we presented some things on projects, most of the stuff that we've covered here already. And the big thing that I presented from the 3DEP for the Nation was this draft one pager that you can see here on the right. And the goal was, this isn't a finished product. It's to get feedback on what direction do we really want to go here, and what will be valuable for states. And I think one of the things that was brought up was actually from a business partner, Jeff Lovin, about the advocacy committee had done some work to create a one pager to share on the Hill visits.
Hey, Jordan, can I interrupt you for just a sec? You broke up there for a second. I don't know if it was just me or anyone else, but we maybe missed when you started to set the thing there. You were talking about Jeff Levin. I didn't hear you for about 7 or 8 seconds.
Great. Sorry, I can slow down a little bit too.
Just want to make sure that folks heard what you were saying.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. So Jeff brought up a great point that there's work being done in other committees along these same lines. And so it'll be important to make sure that any messaging that we put together is aligned with things coming out of the advocacy committee, especially with regard to specific dollar amounts and requests from the federal government. So out of that, there's a lot of opportunity for cross-committee coordination within NSGIC. So that's something that I'll be working on, is making sure that we have, that awareness within each committee so that we can gain the power of each other's work instead of just doubling up. I think that's the whole spirit of 3DEP, right? Let's make our efforts go further by combining and partnering on those things. I think one of the biggest points of feedback and takeaways was from Scotty in the breakout breakfast, was that this draft here, it might look pretty. I think it does. But at the end of the day, the folks that we're sending this message to, they might not care about the pretty pixels, right? They're interested, or the data. They want to know the story. How does it relate to them? What is the problem that it's solving? What does it matter to the people? And so that's something that I'm really going to try to incorporate here through visuals and hopefully some very limited text. I try to keep it very text light, but definitely something that really struck home with me. And then the other thing that stuck out to me is throughout all of the different sessions, there are these really hot topic issues, not just from the geospatial community, but across the federal and state government apparatus, that we can kind of, how can we align 3DEP as a foundational data set to all sorts of different problem solving and derivative products that help problem solving with these hot issues that already have traction within these sources of funding. So just listed a few of them here, but something that definitely want to be incorporating into whatever we're doing moving forward. And then the last bit, it was pretty clear from the breakout breakfast that there is no one resource to rule them all, that there's going to be a multi-pronged approach to whatever it is that we produce, starting with, I think, a hook, right? How do we get people just a quick, here's something in front of you that piques your interest, makes you want to learn more, very limited in terms of the amount of information that's displayed, but like provides you with a hunger of, wow, that's super interesting. And then draws you into a more interactive content that gets you exploring, starts building on your understanding. And then you get into that meat and potatoes of the details of here's really what all this data is, how it's collected, and the massive amount of resources and effort that's required in order to do it on a national scale. So I don't know if anyone was at the conference and have any other takeaways that I might have missed. I would love to hear them, or any feedback on this one pager here, or anything at all. And I'm sorry, last bit, I stole a ton of imagery off of all of your websites, so I'm sure you guys can recognize your data here. I know Paul and Dennis, we've got that marquee there, and then Abby, we've got your volcano pics here. So any finished product will have attribution. So with that, I definitely want to make some space, any feedback or anything that I might have missed. Cool. All right. Well, nice. And I definitely have some meat to add to this, to the potatoes of this one pager here with regard to the value of time series data. But that gets into really where I'd like to go with this particular prong of our focus this year, as a proposed project plan to really kind of round out these materials. So I think it starts with the one pager that I just presented, wrapping that up and really getting that into a pretty solid state where you can just print it out, hand it out if it's something that you think will work for you. And that will be coming right out of NSGIC, not necessarily tailored to your state, but something that is more of a broad resource. I'd like to link that to a digital resource that you can find on the hub, put in a QR code on that one pager so that anyone who wants to learn more can find more and start to engage and share digitally. And then really what I'd like to get into is creating a resource where you can generate a similar one pager that's aligned with messaging and vocabulary and these initiatives super easily with your own imagery and your own use cases, so that you don't have to spend a ton of time reformatting or getting those things together. Just plug and play. And then the biggest thing that came out of the mid-year meeting was story maps and the opportunity to dive deeper into details with visuals and information in a way that's interactive. And so I'd like to put that together and publish it in the 3DEP hub. I'll probably use ArcGIS Online for that. And then last but not least, providing a place where anything that you produce out of your states, we can share through the NSGIC website and the hub, so that everyone can learn and benefit from the value of other states and see how we're aligned, how they're different, and really get that messaging going. Is there anything here that anyone sees as, man, I don't know if that fits, or I'd really like to see a little more emphasis on this resource over that? Definitely want to make sure that we're producing what is actually going to be valuable for you.
Can we see the one pager again real quick?
Yes, absolutely. And let me actually, I'm going to stop sharing and pull up a better view of it. Okay, so here's the PDF. Hopefully it's a little more visible. And it is a little longer than one page, so I'm gonna have to scroll. But it's really fast. There's not a ton of detail, but it just kind of gets into those high level topics of what is this and why should I care about it?
In addition to maybe using more graphics that involve like people, instead of the actual, graphics as they appear to us in mapping programs, I think what I have come to find, as well as the fact that they don't care about the derivative layers, they just care about the purpose, right? It's saving these people from rooftops during floods. It's helping crop yields to feed people, it's doing all that stuff. In addition to that, some people have given me feedback while I'm talking about these programs, the 3DEP one and all of the other acronymed ones we have. And they have actually told me that they find it really difficult to follow all of our acronyms. So some of our programs like 3DEP, I don't know if this is possible because it's not coming from us. It's coming from somewhere else. But maybe even trying to brand it a little differently in the naming of it. Like most of the folks that you're going to talk to, they probably don't know what USGS 3DEP is, right? And then when you throw in like some of the other ones, it just confuses them. It just confuses them. So I don't know if we could like call it something else. I know that's a big ask, but even just calling it like national LiDAR data, something consumable by the human brain, by people that aren't us, that don't deal with it all the time.
I like that. And you're getting some thumbs up from Evan here. I think that's spot on, Scotty. And I even, when you were saying that, I was like, the first thing that popped into my head was laser beams from the air, like LiDAR even is an acronym. It's like, what even is, just so making it more digestible, something that the person you're giving this to doesn't have to peel back the layers of the onion to really understand it from the first place, but makes them want to peel back the layers of the onion to dive deeper. Is that what you're saying?
Definitely. Just like, 3DEP, 3D HP, 3D FTN, like all of this other stuff that we throw out at them, they have no idea at the end of the day what we're even talking about. And I think a lot of them are just too shy or disinterested to tell us.
Yeah. I think that's great. Okay.
Well, I'd note that, USGS, as well as a lot of other groups, including state of California, has a history of getting programs. They get well known. They get to the point where they're almost part of everybody's, or like the larger population's lexicon, and then they change it. Like, it wasn't that long ago that I could walk into a meeting with a number of county or city folks and reference the national elevation data set, and I'd get looks of knowledge, but that has been subsumed by other efforts now. So like we cost ourselves that name recognition with changing names on things.
Yeah. I think that's the conversation around branding is a big one. That also came up throughout the conference, folks. And Brian, not to not to air it here, too bad, but the next gen 3DEP, right? Because of the next gen 911, it's that conflation that might happen there. It's maybe I don't know what we can do about it at this point, but as far as at least creating materials for folks who might be in control of some purse strings, definitely makes sense to brand it in a way that is consumable and easily understood. All right, well received. Great. Anybody else have any feedback or anything and I don't know if, do you still want to, I mean, hopefully, I would like to point out a few things here. These derivative product maps here that I pulled out, that was for the Arlington area. Figured it was appropriate for the conference. And then this one down here is one that I have a specific affinity to. This is the flood map from Colorado in 2013. There's like historic floods. Anyway, I thought that was fun. All right, cool. So that's some great feedback, and I definitely want to make sure. Okay, hopefully you can see this still. Okay, cool. So the project plan, does anyone have anything that is on here that you think, now we don't really need that, or anything that's missing from this project plan that you think, man, we could really use that as a value add, and we don't have the time to put it together? All right. Cool. So hopefully this is, I will take from silence that this looks good. You'll find some value in it, and we'll get off to the races with it. All right. Steve, go ahead, sir.
Well, I feel like what would be interesting, and I think that the data needs to be in the hands of the users for a little bit longer to truly understand, but I'd be interested to hear from the specialists what they do with it and get some testimony as far as how important it is for their programs. Because I get asked by a variety of individuals all the time, when is the new stuff coming out? And I don't really get into the details of what they're going to do with the data.
Absolutely. Use cases are paramount, and I think that's a huge thrust of this is, and to Scotty's point, how do you actually use it? Why does it matter? How does it influence the lives of my constituents and the people that I represent? So I think that's a really, really good point, Steve. How are the specialists using it? What decisions is it influencing? How is it improving our analysis and outcomes? That's a big thrust of this. So I'll be creating these outlines and materials, and then at the same time sourcing, hopefully from you guys and those specialists that you're talking about, these use cases and the actual impact associated with them. Great. Yeah, really good point. And then, all right, sounds like folks are hopping off. I'm definitely open to feedback. If anything else has anything that they'd like to see, please feel free to send it my way. I know this is scheduled to go all the way through 4:30, but I do like giving you back that time, and I like that buffer to make room for conversations that popped up, like happened today. That was awesome. But I don't need to beat this horse any more than I need to. You guys have my email, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next month, giving you a little bit of an updated on progress, and hopefully we have some movement from the USGS side as well. I love to see those new project proposals accepted, that number climbing higher. That was great. We also have a really cool panel lined up for the next interest group meeting. We're looking at May 9th. That should be 1 p.m. Sorry. And we'll be looking at different types of LiDAR acquisition platforms and what might be viable moving into the future to save on larger area collections. So hopefully you guys can join for that. I'll send out some registration on that this month once we have the date and time locked down with the panelists. With that, I would love to give you guys some time back. I really appreciate the great conversation today and everyone participating. That was really cool. So looking forward to next time. Have a great one.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan.